Zulu Papa 5, Whiskey Bravo Mike from Mike Bravo Alpha Alpha.
It's a whole different quality.
It don't totally depends on temperature and moisture. How you move.
We got a dog now. I took over Kelly's ball.
Pretty much over here now, the noise level. But excellent copies.
The UHF amateur band is very similar. There's not really a point in identifying the difference. Okay, so I'm going to swap antenna now because I need to make some changes to pick up shortwave. Okay, so I've switched over to my long wire, end-fed long wire. And there's a couple of things we need to do to receive shortwave. You can only do this with certain radios. The new elect won't do it. For that you have to add on a converter to pick up shortwave. With the RTL-SDR it's got an interesting facility on it. Okay, one of the joys of the RTL-SDR is that it will pick up HF bands. What we need to do is to switch this from quadrature sampling, not a word I have to say very often, to direct sampling Q branch. I will close that and I'll start it up. Okay, now you notice it's got very weird on here now. But if we go down in frequency and we go down to 6 megahertz, we can see a lot of activity. Now, broadcast stations are AM on shortwave or HF. We can zoom in and have a look at them. And they're normally on a 10. I'm going to turn the squelch off, so I'll mute the audio until I'm ready, because it will get annoying. Squelch doesn't work very well on HF. I'll find a nice strong station. Most of the stations are on in multiples of either 5 or 10k. So you can tune up and down 10k at a time and you'll hit quite a few stations, but some will be on a 5k spacing in between. Let's have a listen to this one. Bit faint, that one. Sometimes by changing the bandwidth you can minimise interference. We get a bit of a warble on that. It may be because I'm operating a video recording software on top of this. But you can see how wide these transmissions are. That's quite a strong signal. That's coming in at minus 20 decibel. So my aerial's doing a good job. These wider signals here will be digital. The nice thing about some of the software is it does tell you what is a broadcast band and what is an amateur band. So if I go to 7 megahertz, the 40 meter amateur band is here. Now that is lower sideband. Basically, if it's below 10 megahertz, it's normally lower sideband. Now, this is single sideband, and you notice when I tune it in, the frequency changes. Okay, so once again there's a contest on 40 metres and probably on the 20 metre amateur band. The purpose of the contest is generally to get as many contacts as you can from as far away as possible. And they award, this is an amateur radio thing, and they award points according to how far it is away, according to how far away your reception is, and they verify the transmissions using a thing called a QSL log. So each amateur will log the contact on the internet, and then they can verify it in a WAD point. Some people are really keen on this, and it tends to happen on one or other of the amateur bands most weekends. Let's go back and have a listen to a few more.
2-2, Charlie, contact. Again?
Of course, if you speak multiple languages, you're in for a real treat, because you can pick up radio from many, many hundreds or thousands of miles away. And you notice it's very busy down the bottom end of the band, so let's have a listen to what's going on there. Let's set this to zeros. So as you can probably tell, that's Morse code, and generally is the bottom 100 kilohertz of the band will be dedicated to Morse code. You will also find some digital signals. This one looks like FT8. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. Sounds very ghostly and alien, but they're transmitting characters slowly, and the reason why they transmit them slowly is it allows the signal to be picked up over a much longer distance. And there are various digital modes like FT8, FT4 and a load of others that I haven't even started to look at as an amateur radio enthusiast. When they say 59 or 59, it means readability 5 out of 5 and strength 9 out of 9. It's just the way the meters are set up on amateur radio sets. So 5 and 9 is the best signal. So if it was scratchy, it might be 4 and 7 or 4 and 5 or 4 and 3 if it's a very weak signal, or 2 and 3, although you probably wouldn't even bother answering them. So that's amateur radio basically. There's lots of other modes you can pick up by adding on extra decoders, and the thing is, it takes patience. Different bands come up at different times of the day, different times of the year. The shortwave bands, there's all sorts of things go on. 40 metres and 20 metres are frequently full of contests at the weekend. They also have nets where lots of amateurs will talk on one frequency and they'll all talk in turn. You'll find radio clubs use them for communicating with their members, and the RSGB also in the UK transmit their news for the benefit of people with sight difficulties. You see some interesting things going on, and you have to persevere. Sometimes you'll go on, there'll be absolutely nothing, and yet an hour later it'll be buzzing. So it does pay to check propagation reports. Have a very quick look, much higher up. This is the 10 metre amateur band. Not a lot going on there. Here's the old CB frequency. And again, there's virtually nothing on it in my area. But there are parts of the country, particularly the larger cities like Manchester and Liverpool and London, where there is a lot of activity on it. I'm close to Nottingham and Derby. Doesn't get used a great deal, and the range doesn't tend to be that good with handhelds. A lot of the guys sit on top of hills and talk to each other on a Friday night and Saturday night. I used to do it myself many, many years ago. I've only got into amateur radio more recently, and it's a more diverse hobby. I'm not saying it's better or worse, it's different. And that's basically a quick look at SDR. So you need, ideally, in an ideal world, you need the right antenna or aerial for the bands that you're listening to. Certainly two antenna is the bare minimum, I would say. If you just want to listen to VHF, UHF, one will do. If you want to listen to HF or shortwave, you're going to need another one. And to get the absolute best results, you would use multiple ones for multiple bands. But that's more to do if you want to get involved in transmitting. Of course, you need to pass exams and to have a license for that. And that's something I've done this year. It's a fascinating hobby. It can be quite expensive, but equally, you can get started on a budget. You know, I keep going on about the little Baofeng radios. I'm licensed to use this, and I use it on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Another one I have a digital radio, which isn't plugged into anything at the moment. It was plugged into my antenna. This will do FM and digital radio on UHF and VHF, and it's a fantastic radio. And the batteries last for days on it. It's awesome. And I can communicate with people through repeaters all over the world. I can transmit to people 40 or 50 miles away from a hilltop and from my mobile antenna on the car. But if you want to get into amateur radio, that's a whole different thing. I've been listening to shortwave since I was 13 years old, on and off. I did it a lot until I started having a family, and I've got more back into it the last 3 or 4 years. I've learnt a lot more about how the software works, how the decoders work, and it's just a fascinating hobby. So I hope this inspires you to have patience and get started. You know, you can literally just sit here and leave your SDR running and just watch the waterfall for activity while you're doing something else. And you can spin around the bands really quickly and just see how much there is going on. And within a few seconds, you can be listening to something. I was going to say one of the nice things about SDR Sharp is that it automatically picks the right modulation mode, but that time it didn't. But normally if you go from amateur radio to broadcast, it'll select the right modulation mode. So CW is for short, for Morse code, upper sideband and lower sideband for SSB transmissions, AM for broadcast, wide FM for broadcast FM, narrowband FM for amateur radio and private mobile radio. Digital, you're going to have to experiment with some other equipment, some add-ons. I haven't gone that far yet. I have decoded pages, but more recently pages have become encrypted, so that there's nothing to see, and it's text information anyway. That's due to the privacy laws, the GDPR laws. Hope you found something of interest to listen to. Try it on different days, different times and different bands, and you can have an awful lot of fun. So, good luck. Hope you found this useful. Bye for now.
Yeah, we are in the place to be. Yeah.